Your words are fair and true. When questions and debates arise, we always look to you. Oh, time and space and liberty, rallying canopies all belong to thee. Rallying canopies all belong to thee.
Good evening, folks. Hope you're doing well. Just thought I'd come on. I've got a little bit of a rant, and then we'll get to the good stuff. But I just want to say hello to Epic Beard. He was first before I even went live. And Life with Matthew is on. Alexander Brooks. JP, welcome. I hope you're staying warm. It's been kind of cold. So what I'll do is I will add the StreamYard's link because it's one of those streams that I don't mind having a full panel. And then we'll get this show on the road, as it were. I also want to send a sorry to Chief Cook. I noticed you were live after I had everything all set up. So I'm sorry. But yeah. Just a couple things that I want to go over. And Epic Beard, you are becoming like AT and ranting for 4 hours. Well, that's not necessarily true. My rants are not as long. Welcome, JP.
Hello.
Hope you're staying warm and away from crazy people in the city.
I don't know. I haven't been outside.
Oh, yeah, me either. Last time I went out, it looked like Armageddon. So I just went, nope, I'm just staying. I got everything I need. I don't need to go out. But since you're here, I can add to my rant, so this should be good because I can actually talk about it with somebody who's in the same city as me.
You can't find toilet paper either?
No, well, not that, but what Winnipeg Transit was going to do. Or did you hear about that?
I don't care about Winnipeg Transit.
Yeah, no, but I don't use it much either. But one of their brilliant ideas was they were only going to allow 7 people on a bus at a time.
Yeah.
Which just makes me laugh because you get the people going to work in the morning. So they have to leave like 2 hours earlier because Winnipeg Transit is bad as it is. Never mind if you're only letting 7 people on a bus.
Yeah, when the bus is already crowded and they letting people on.
Yeah. And then the next bus is an hour later. No big deal. How are you, Life with Matthew?
Oh, doing good. How are y'all tonight?
Not too bad. So, now that I got a little bit of people here and Life with Matthew up, so he'll be able to chime in on this. Have you seen the videos that have gone up today? The latest attack on Picard?
No.
Okay. To me, this is going. It's enough. It's hit my limit of okay. This is stupid. Let's move on. What you may or may not know is CBS is going to be going free during COVID-19.
Oh.
Because, but so the videos for the most part are Star Trek Picard is so bad that CBS is getting so desperate for new viewers that they're going to make it free. Okay. Here's the problem with that, and this is why it's a straw. It's the straw that just made me have to have a live stream tonight because it is so stupid. they're not the only ones.
Exactly.
Disney Plus is doing the same thing. Hulu is doing the same thing. WWE Network is doing the same thing.
Yeah, and CBS All Access is a new service. All the
Right.
other services that came out, Netflix, Hulu,
Mhm.
when they started releasing, they would give you a free month.
Yeah, but this is going to be for the entire time of COVID-19.
Yeah.
For when they're doing the quarantines and stuff.
Yeah,
All the streaming services are going, well, okay, we're going to do a public service. No, we just want people showing up, and maybe we'll pay for this stuff later. But they're all basically going, oh, well, we're going to make our streaming service free during this crisis, right? So if CBS turns around and doesn't do it, then they look like absolute asses.
Yeah, like, why don't you care about people enough to make your service free?
Exactly, right?
you know what it is? It stems from these services where they give you a month free. You sign up with your credit card, and it's not that you forget, and next thing you know, they've got you locked in for at least a month plus another additional month charge.
Yeah, but for this particular thing, it's basically around the COVID-19, and because of that, the most of the major streaming services, even WWE Network, which is funny, is going free to give people entertainment while they're, to help during this crisis. We're going to make our streaming services free accessible.
Yeah, and they want to compete.
And even music places are doing that, like music sites and that. Some of them are jumping on the bandwagon. There's just a whole bunch of them. That a lot of the stuff that are being put behind a paywall is no longer going to be behind a paywall because of the quarantine situation. So to sit there and go, well, Picard is so bad and the numbers are so bad they have to give it away for free is just stupid. Because everybody's doing it.
But I bet you're going to still have to sign up with a credit card to receive that month free.
WWE, I don't think so.
I'm surprised.
Yeah, I think, well, because the way I found out about WWE was I was watching one of my wrestling podcasts, and they were talking about it. How I think for full access to the network, you might have to do that. You might have to register, but they're actually releasing all of the old WrestleManias, just like a YouTube, like anonymous. You can go in anonymous and watch every WrestleMania that's ever happened on WWE Network. But again, that'll be different here for Canada too, because to access the WWE Network is a fun thing to do here in Canada. But anyway, for the States, it'll be great. And for Europe, because they have the same kind of setup where you can get it off WWE.com. You can't do that here. JP will contest with that. Agree with that.
Yeah, I just double checked with CBS All Access Canada.
Yep.
It is, they ask for a credit card right away.
Yeah, they will, but it's supposed to be going free.
Well, yeah, a new subscriber offer 1 month free.
Yeah,
but you still have to have a credit
card.
Yeah.
But and let's be honest, this is to boost up their subscriber count for sure, right? They're hoping that you get your like any other promotion, you get the service, you end up liking it, or you forget about it, and bang, they get you for an extra couple of months.
They'll bill you if you forget.
But at the same time, to signal out Picard, that's where I'm like, no. If Orville season 3 was having its inaugural season on Hulu right now, people could watch it for free because Hulu is one of the ones that are doing it. So would they make videos saying that the Orville is so bad? No, you wouldn't see that.
I haven't gone on Hulu since it was free access.
So it's just for me. It's so annoying because it's like, oh no, come on. We have enough going on. Do we really have to find stupid stuff to be negative about? We have enough stuff to worry about, like where our next package of teepees coming from.
Exactly.
You know,
I'm
we
pretty
got-
sure the answer is China.
Yeah, pretty sure.
No, that's seriously such bullcrap,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they know it too.
Oh
Like,
yeah, they do. But yeah,
the sad thing is, there's a lot of people out there who don't watch Picard and are just buying into this kind of stuff, hook, line, and sinker.
oh yeah, absolutely. It drives me nuts. Like for me, like I've always said, I don't care if you like the show or you don't like the show. That doesn't bother me. Everybody has their likes, dislikes. I was on Captain Trek's channel earlier today with somebody who didn't like Picard, and we had a nice friendly conversation about it. Went back and forth. Well, okay, well, this is how I felt about that, and blah blah blah. But it didn't resort down to name calling, right? But that's all it is. That's what a lot of this is now. Is, oh well, I heard it's terrible. Have you watched it? No. Oh well, okay, never mind.
No, and I'm not going to because I heard it's terrible.
Yeah.
Like, did you know that it was nothing but a feminist agenda?
Yeah.
I've watched it a couple times now. I hadn't noticed that actually.
Yeah. Well, I had to laugh because I was talking to one of my friends, and I actually mentioned it on Captain Trek's channel today. But it stemmed from a conversation I had with one of my other friends, and we were talking about how if you really look for something, and it doesn't matter what it is, if you really look for something, you're going to find it in anything you watch.
Yeah.
Right. And we were discussing about, well, okay, what if we went back to an old episode and we chose DS9 just for fun? And my friend pointed out, because we were watching the episode where they go to kill the albino.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So my friend points out at the end of that episode, he says, you could make an argument if you really wanted to that was part of the feminist agenda. And I went, what are you talking about? He goes, yeah. He says, think about it. All you'd have to say is the two Klingon men were too weak, so the female had to beat the guy up and then throw him a bone and let him have the kill so that his poor ego wasn't hurt too much. Right?
Nice. Yeah.
Which is totally not what it was about. But you could make that argument if you wanted to.
Oh yeah, and Jadzia was a total Mary Sue.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that she could take out the Klingon that none of the other more experienced people could take out.
Mm-hmm. Right? So yeah, and I just sat there and went, damn, you're right too. If you really wanted to formulate that argument, you could use that episode as a prime example any day of the week. The other one that we were talking about in depth was Home Improvement. If you watched that show, back in the day, Home Improvement was bad for that. I mean, he was a piss poor father. If his wife wasn't around, he was useless.
Always being henpecked by his wife.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you could, if you really wanted to just look through that microscope, you could do that to anything.
I like that.
Yeah. And it was just funny because we were just looking at it. It's like, well, this ain't really nothing new. I mean, let's go back to some of the shows that we used to watch when we were kids. And it's like, well, freak, Home Improvement would be a good example. Dads have been portrayed as idiots for years. If the dad's left alone with the kids, better have their Armageddon rations because it's dad watching them, right? That's been in our shows for years. It's nothing new. We just pay attention to it more. The Epic Beard says, really, it's the apocalypse. I can't even speak English. Apocalypse it time to wake up and watch the world burn. Wake up, bird of prey, and enjoy your work. you will also be. Now. I think Anti-Trick is just as evil, but and Thomas Potts says, "Did you get STD on TV in Canada?" Yes, and you have Picard on TV in Canada as well. I believe they had STD on TV. I know they have Picard. Picard's on Sci-Fi, which I still have to. I think my buddy has that channel, and I think he has it where he can stream old shows. I have to go over there and watch one of the Picard episodes where they swear a lot and see if they bleep it.
Oh, which one of the ones where they swear a lot? The second one, I think.
Yeah. I've got to go over. I got to see. I got to talk to him because I got to see if because I know he's got that channel and I know he can watch it on his computer. I have to go over and see if he if they bleeped it on Sci-Fi or if they let it go.
I bet they bleeped it. Well, I don't know. I guess I'm also interested in what they cut out. There are a couple episodes that are too long to be broadcast.
Yeah, they would be. A couple of them, yeah. Especially the last one. That one for sure.
Was it episode 8 was like 58 minutes long or something?
Yeah. So that one definitely couldn't be on. Like in its entirety. Something's got to go. Yeah, it'd be interesting to compare the two. What made air and what didn't. And welcome, Night Breeze. And don't forget to wear protection when watching. Yeah, I haven't watched STD since the season finale of season 1. I've just tuned into the reviews to see what I've missed, and so far I haven't heard anything that made me want to go back and watch the show. And then Alexander Brooks says, "Then what do you need CBS All Access for in connection?" Well, we don't technically need it. Actually, even if we have it, we can't watch it on CBS All Access.
Which was just crap. I mean, you're a week behind everyone, right? Or do they catch you up finally?
No, they it comes out Friday.
Okay, so just a day.
Yeah, but I watch it when it comes out, so VPN. But no, for regular Canadian viewers, it's Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, we got the internets. We're special.
Yeah, we're special. We're special people. But no, and yeah, it's a Friday release for Canada. And what really pissed me off, because I was under the misunderstanding that it was going to be on Amazon Prime if you were outside of the US. So right before Picard started, I went and renewed my Amazon Prime, only to find out that it's not.
Oh yeah.
That was annoying. So I went and paid for a full month of the subscription service I didn't need. That was annoying.
Oh, at least you only did a month long instead of like the year subscription.
Yeah, it's like, wait a second. I don't need this. What the? Because it was funny because I entered Star Trek Picard and no results. Not even one. Like I think there's like 3 Star Trek shows or something, and none of them are Picard. I'm going, well, what the hell? It's supposed to be on this streaming service. And I was like, no. So then, the only way one way you can watch it online if you wanted to watch it when it dropped, which would be Friday, would be to go to Sci-Fi. Have the Sci-Fi channel in your cable package, and then use your customer ID for Shaw, which is our cable company, and then you'd be able to view it using your Shaw ID on the Sci-Fi's webpage. So you still got to get the cable package.
No, you don't.
Well, no, but I mean to go through that way you do. Because you have to have your Shaw ID and shite.
I pay enough for Shaw Internet.
Yeah.
I have to pay for Shaw TV.
Yeah, I don't either. I won't pay for Shaw TV. Because I mean, if you have my bundle, which would be the TV, the cable, and the phone, by the time you're done doing that, you're already looking at $80 to $100, and that's just for basic cable.
I got phone and internet, and I'm paying $150.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't pay a dime for Shaw Internet either. What's Shaw Internet?
Yeah, we got the American in the room. Hold on, that's our internet provider.
Like
it's like Comcast for you.
like for all of Canada or just
No.
the region you guys are in?
The
Well,
region
there are 2 big ones in Canada. So
Yeah.
Bell and Rogers and Shaw. So yeah, 3 big ones.
Okay. So yeah, I have like a random internet provider here. It's like this is the only internet they provide.
But they probably get it off of someone like their main backbone. Backbone could be like either Charter or Comcast or someone else.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They recently upgraded it. Like they did a massive upgrade to all their routers and stuff.
Yeah, because like on the cell phone end of it, if you had TELUS back in when TELUS first came into Manitoba,
Oh yeah, I
if
know
you
that.
had TELUS prepaid, your phone was TELUS. The tower your phone was running off of was MTS. Right? Because the TELUS was paying MTS to use their towers, so they didn't have to put infrastructure in.
Huh.
Easier to do that
Yep.
than put in infrastructure.
But then MTS went and pissed off TELUS, which are big in Western Canada. Went and pissed off TELUS because then they set because more people were going to TELUS than they were going to MTS prepaid. So what they did was they go, "Oh, you can only have X amount of prepaid numbers."
Oh.
And then TELUS prepaid went down for a while, and then now they've got it back up where they don't have the restrictions. But yeah, and TELUS went, "Oh yeah, well now your phones don't work when you leave Manitoba." So yeah, it was a little bit of fun.
Yeah, I had that happen with are y'all familiar with the company Sprint by any chance?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So I had Sprint for just the longest time, and once I left my area, it turned out that they did a data cap of 1 gigabyte, and like they're like, yeah, it doesn't matter how much you pay us, that's it, you're done. So I went home and switched to Verizon right after that.
Yeah, I was like, well, F you then.
I'm like, yeah, I got to do this for business, so we're done. Thanks.
I'd be like, oh, my business is going to provide me with my phone then.
Yeah, it's actually funny because up here things are a little bit different. Like, remember I was saying it's different to connect to the WWE network. So to give you an idea, in the States, and I think most places in the UK, you can do it straight from WWE.com.
Okay.
Okay, so you go to WWE.com, you go, I want the network, you pay whatever it is, $9.99 in the States, something 13 something in euros in Europe, and boom, you've got the network. In Canada, that's not how it works. You have to phone your cable provider, order it through your cable provider, and then you get the network.
Huh.
Yeah. So
I guess that makes no sense.
No, because you have to go through Shaw or MTS, right? So you basically have to have a basic cable package to have the WWE network.
Because it's government regulated.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we get hosed in certain areas.
That seems somewhat appropriate.
Yeah, it's
For
annoying.
some Hoosers?
When I started with Netflix, it only gave me access to Netflix Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Then this was years back. I found out how to log in through VPN
Okay.
to Netflix USA,
Mm-hmm.
and there was so much more stuff on there.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. It's absolutely night and day. What's on Netflix Canada? What's on Netflix US? It's night and day.
Oh yeah, and then they changed it. So
Yeah, yeah. Because many people were doing exactly that, using the VPN and going to the States one.
yeah, I think I had about a good year and a half service of like Netflix USA.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was big a couple of years back, where it was like, no, we're going, because even some of the shows, like your main shows, would debut in the States, and then it'd be sometimes up to a month before they'd hit up here.
Yeah.
Like prime example of that, my son watches The Flash, and for him, it used to piss him off because he would, and it is still this way. It would get released in the States, and then he'd have to wait 3 days for that same episode to debut here. So he'd have to avoid all his, channels that he watches because you'd get spoilers, and he couldn't watch the damn episode. He'd go back.
Never get into. Watched maybe half the first season. And I was like, "What is this crap?"
Oh, I can't watch it with him. I can't. He's tried. He has made an honest effort to go, Dad, you're gonna like this. Just here, I'll explain it to you. And it's like, this makes no sense to me. You're on your own, kid.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons I think were kind of fun, and then the third season was just weak, and then the last season here, I didn't even bother watching it. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, so basically what I do is I just go, so what are they doing now? Okay, cool. I got my update. And then I just leave it at that. Because, yeah, I tried to watch one. I'm like, who the hell is that? What the okay, I'm done. This makes no sense to me, and I'm not going back and watching stuff. No. I can't do this. But yeah, he loves the show.
I'm glad.
Yeah, it definitely, and it's actually popular with him and his friends. So that one's gone over with the younger crowd for sure. But it's Marvel. I mean, it's going to.
Yeah.
It's like my son. Actually, if he were to enter, it's funny because he laughs because me and him, Star Wars is our big thing together, right? We've watched every movie together. Anyone that's come in theaters, well, he's been old enough to know about it. We've gone to the theater to watch together. It's our thing. And he puts Rise of Skywalker in his top 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did he not see Empire?
He didn't see it that way. See, that's I guess. I mean, at the time he was what? Let's see. That movie came out like the first one came out 3 years ago? Not Rise of Skywalker, but the Force Awakens.
I think so.
Yeah, so he would have been 13. So yeah, he was okay with the Force Awakens, but he didn't like Rey. And then Rise of the Last Jedi, he had issues with, and then Rise of Skywalker he liked. The Han movie
Solo.
he didn't like. Yeah, Han Solo he didn't like the movie. he loves Rogue One. And out of the prequels, number 3 is his favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was funny because my son, I can't remember whose stream I had up and running. And my son just happened to be walking by with his friends. And a certain member of the community was on the stream mentioning how good Jar Jar Binks was. And my son stopped dead in his tracks, looked at me. He's joking, right, Dad? And I'm like, no, he's not.
Yeah.
Wow. And he just kept walking. Yeah. That was funny. But it made him stop in his tracks. What? Did I hear that right? Yeah, you heard it right. No. And he kept walking. But yeah, so he's what I call a Star Wars fan, but he doesn't know all of the EU and stuff like that. He also knows more about the games than I do because he played them, obviously. He's the gamer out of the two of us. He plays all those one-person shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was funny. Actually, one of your streams, Life with Matthew, my son and I were having a good chuckle because I said, yeah, because you guys were playing that
The
shooting
CS:GO?
game, the shooting game there where you guys were chasing each
right.
other. Yeah, that whichever the one-person shooter you guys were playing.
Yeah, CS:GO.
Yeah, and my son and I were sitting there, and I says, if I had a proper computer, I'd log in, I'd let you have the controls, and I'd put it under my name, and we'll see how long it takes them to figure out it isn't me. Because that's I mean, most of the shooting games I've learned what they are by him swearing at them. So, right. You camping son of a! Oh, he's playing a shooting game. Yeah. This is a ranked game. You can't leave during a ranked game, you idiot. Yeah. It's funny. He gets a little emotionally attached when it becomes a ranked game.
I can imagine why. I mean, if you're winning one of those, just have someone rage quit on you.
Yeah. Well, no, it's not even that. It's when his teammates. Oh, he gets.
Oh, that's even worse.
He
Yeah.
gets pissed because he's like, "What are you doing, you idiot?" Right? It's just like give him shit for like the whole thing. It's a ranked game, you moron! Right? Yeah, it's just funny. And then it's even worse when he starts to play NFL because it's like, "How did you not catch that?" And it's priceless. I get hours of entertainment listening to him complain about losing to a video game. And then, of course, because I'm a nice father, I walk up to him and go, "That's probably a 5-year-old, right?" He goes, "Shut up." It's probably a 5-year-old. Just kicked your arse. Shut up. No. But yeah, he plays console, so he plays Xbox One. That's his thing. And then our division is I like PlayStation, he likes Xbox.
So he's not a real gamer then.
No. Well, if I had the money to get him a proper gaming computer, yeah, I think the PS3 would no longer be his wife. Because that's the other thing I bug him about. So how's your wife doing? He's on it so much.
The only reason I ever bought a console was for EA NHL series.
I have to bring this up because Thomas Potts said it, and it reminded me of my brother. I've broken my controller playing NHL and Madden. My brother, I tried to get him into video games, and it was NHL because I figured, okay, I can't get him into any other game. I have to go to something he's going to like, so we'll go NHL. And he got so pissed off he threw my controller across the room and broke it. So he's not allowed to play video games anymore.
No, I don't break them. I wear them out. I've got like at least 4 PS3 controllers that I've worn the nubs right off the.
Oh yeah.
And they no longer work properly.
Yeah. My gaming consists of Minecraft, hockey, and Skyrim. That's my gaming. Now I don't even play Minecraft properly. I just do the building stuff. I don't bother with the stupid missions or the monsters or things.
Wait, there's missions in that game?
Yeah.
They expanded it out a lot.
Yeah, they did. And I paid
loaded
no
it
attention
up
to
once, and it was like, okay, if I want to play an Atari game, I'll go get one.
No, the pain in the butt with that is when you go from creative mode to not survival, but just friendly mode. So in friendly mode, you have to mine everything, and then creative mode, you have every block that's in the game, and you can just build. But the major difference is in creative mode you can fly.
Yeah.
In the other mode, you can't. So, if you're building a skyscraper and you saved at the top of that said skyscraper when you could fly, and then you forgot to put a staircase in first, yeah, that can get fun.
Well, you have to build one.
Yeah, you got to build it on the way down, and that's a pain in the ass.
But hey, I gotta run out here. It's a little late in my area.
Yeah, no problem. It's late here too, but I thought I'd jump on because nobody else. Well, I didn't think anybody was on, but I'll throw the link in case Darren wants to pop in, say hi.
Night, guys.
Night. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
But yeah, our wonderful city is in lockdown.
What?
No, it's not.
Well, not completely, no. Although I'm surprised that people haven't rioted yet because hockey was canceled. Also, Tim's is closed except for drive-through.
Yeah.
So there are those two things. Good evening, Darren.
Hello.
Well, since you're joining us new, I want your opinion on something.
What's that?
It was my little rant at the beginning of this live stream, but I'll get your opinion. So, as you may or may not know, a lot of the streaming services are going free during the quarantine time.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of videos that have come out today are that Picard is so bad, CBS is getting desperate and making it free. Think that's a fair assessment, or do you think it's just BS?
Well, are they making the other shows free too, or
Yeah.
just Picard?
No. CBS is going straight across. Same with WWE Network. Same with Hulu. Same with Disney Plus.
I think that it's an opportunity for them. That's how I think they're looking at it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an opportunity to get more eyes on the product, but they're
Right.
using this as a because during this perilous time, we're going to make our streaming services available. Since you're locked up at home, we're going to make these available for free. And
Mhm.
but let's face it, it's a marketing gimmick.
Well, I mean, it's smart.
Oh yeah, it is.
HBO used to have these free weekends when I was a kid in the 80s where they would, and there used to be, I had cousins who were kind of poor, and they would wait all year for that, that HBO free weekend where Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they would have, and then, and then they'd watch all the movies they could. And that's and so this, what they're doing is nothing new. It's just that they're doing it to coincide with a national event.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's good PR for them,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're hoping to get the numbers on the other side, right?
Right.
But to single out CBS for doing it, right, and go,
Yeah.
well, it's because Picard is so bad that they're going to. Well, it's not just CBS. If it was just CBS, okay, you might have a valid point.
Yeah.
But it's not just CBS. WWE Network is doing it. Hulu is doing it.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, WWF Network or WWE Network has a problem right now with their events because that the one of their biggest show of the year,
biggest show of the year, WrestleMania,
is in jeopardy at the moment. So this is also that reason. But the thing about Picard being so bad that they're giving it away for free. I hold on, I gotta close out on my Warcraft game here. The idea that Picard is so bad that they're doing it for free would make sense if they weren't also doing all of CBS All Access for free.
Mm-hmm.
They can't say that it's because Picard is so bad if they're opening up all the programming. I mean, CBS All Access gives you access to all the Star Treks, as I recall, at least all the TV shows. So I mean, there's also Twilight Zone, both classic and that current one that isn't so good. There's there's a lot there that is going to attract somebody's attention. And there's nothing wrong with saying, hey, we got this show that has kind of divided the fandom a bit, and why don't you tune in and see if you like it?
Yeah. It's just jumping on an opportunity, and it's good publicity.
Right. Yeah.
It's
I don't think
stunt.
I mean, I don't think that Picard is a particularly great show.
No,
but
and I understand that.
Yeah, but Thomas is admiring my old flip phone. Yeah. I don't have a smartphone. I don't like the idea of having one in my pocket. So I rely on basic phones.
You go on my brother's theory. I don't want a phone that's smarter than me.
No, it's more like I don't want any more distractions than I already have. I reserve all of my internet time for when I'm sitting at my computer.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah.
And the thing that I also hate about the smartphones is that it's totally ruined barroom arguments.
Oh yeah. Everybody's staring at their phone.
Well, no, it's just that you make a statement.
Oh yeah.
That you know is true, and they Google it, and they of course can find the wrong answer. Online, and you're trying to explain to them that, say, for example, okay, here's one that I got into not too long ago. And this is just an aside. We'll get back to CBS and Picard here in a moment.
Yeah, no problem.
But do you remember? You're a Canadian, so you may not know this. But back during the Bush administration, the last one, where he made the announcement of the end to major invasion operations in Iraq from an aircraft carrier, and on the aircraft carrier there's a banner behind him that said "Mission Accomplished."
Yeah.
Okay. What a lot of people don't know is that aircraft carrier was having a celebration. That because they had just completed the longest deployment that any aircraft carrier had gone. I mean, the most days or weeks at sea, and they were coming home, and that was a banner intended for that. And the Bush administration decided that'd be a great place for him to make the announcement, and he essentially crashed the party by being the co-pilot, landing a jet on the aircraft carrier, and then delivering the message. But the optics were that the banner was a reference to his announcement, and the idea that that was actually for this aircraft carrier having the initial reason for the gathering was totally lost. And and my whole point is the media buried that aspect of the story because they liked
the meme.
They liked the meme. They liked the optics of him saying "mission accomplished" when the mission wasn't accomplished.
Yeah.
And and of course they go on, and they go on their phone, and of course they can't find any evidence that what I'm telling them is true. All they find is what
Yeah. Well,
and so they remain galvanized.
yeah.
Because
Or you say something and somebody goes, oh well, I don't agree with you. Well, okay, and you're trying to you're trying to give them facts that and they're like, well, I don't believe you, I'm going to Google it.
Right.
And it's like,
yeah.
eh.
Yeah, and there's sometimes, I mean, the internet doesn't keep all the information that we're exposed to. I mean, there's information that I read in books years ago that isn't available online.
Yeah.
I remember when they declared that Pluto wasn't a planet.
Mm-hmm.
This was, I don't remember how long ago that was, and I kept telling kids in particular, the books I read in school said it was a planet, 9 planets in the solar system. That was the last one. And they looked it all up, and because everything gets updated, retroactively online, they couldn't find it on Wikipedia. They couldn't find any of that, any evidence that it ever was considered a planet, believe it or not. And, I had to, grab a book off my shelf and photocopy.
There's also book smarts, and then there's real life.
Right.
So it may say in the book that this is how, something, but somebody who lived through it might go, yeah, no, that was added after.
Yeah, exactly.
Embellishment.
Another great example of that happening was the whole idea of the Kennedy administration being referred to as Camelot. Nobody during that was alive during the Kennedy presidency thought of or considered that presidency to be Camelot. That was something that was a concept that was created after the fact to romanticize the Kennedy administration. And it was essentially not a historical rewrite, but a historical repackaging.
Yeah, well, a good one from World War II of that is the Blitz.
Yeah,
like right now, if you for the longest time, and they've started to correct it now, but for the longest time, you'd watch a documentary on the Blitz. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, that's when London and cities within the Britain were bombed during World War II
by Germany.
Yeah. So I'll bring Chief Cook up, and then I'll finish my little thing here. So basically, what they used to leave out was the fact that if it had not been for the Blitz, Britain quite possibly would have lost.
Right.
Because up until that point, up until Germany started bombing the actual cities, they were bombing the airfields.
Right.
So at the time, every bomb that landed on a city was one less bomb that landed on an airfield. Right? Yep. So they were able to keep air superiority because the bombs were landing on the cities, not the airfields.
Right.
So if that had not happened, Britain might not have kept air superiority.
Right.
And it was one of the biggest mistakes that was made, thankfully, in the war. But it was overshadowed with, how dare they do this? Right. How dare they send V2 How dare they bomb every bomb that landed on a city was one less. It was almost a slogan back then.
Yeah, they wasted ammunition on a civilian target that could protect itself rather than a military target. Yeah. It's
right.
And so, they didn't shut things down during the Blitz the way we are.
No.
But we're talking about World War II?
Yeah. So base, and I'm sorry, Chief Cook, I noticed you were live basically while I was right about to hit go live. So I was like, oh, darn.
It's all right. No, that's all right. I was just checking, saying hi anyway, because like I said, it was just boring because the governor of my state gave us a quarantine. Everybody be home by 10 o'clock. So I said, okay. And so I said, he gave us great final order, quarantine order.
Yeah, and it's all honor system too. I mean,
Yeah.
But no, so for me, that one was always one that irked me. Was, oh, how dare they bomb London? How dare they do
Right.
this? Blah blah
Right.
blah. And that was the narrative for years.
Mhm.
Now
Yeah,
some of the newer ones are actually going, well, if it hadn't been for the fact that they were bombing the cities,
Right.
Britain would have not had the air superiority because it would have they would have remained bombing the airfields, and that's
Right.
something they wouldn't have been able to sustain
Yeah.
yeah.
long term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. It did because Germany. You got to give Germany credit. They really changed the art of warfare.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
but
Air
and
superiority and both Navy tactics with the both Navy and a lot of stuff we still use today. Look at our helmet. Look at the new helmet. The helmet they changed the helmet. They
Right.
came from German. That's a German helmet. Everybody don't know that.
Mhm.
well, they made submarines relevant.
Hold on. I'll be right back.
Yeah, but so little things like that, and then my favorite response is, really, did you see Dresden? But back when I used to debate in World War II circles, that was my favorite. But no, so really, we changing something or using something to fit a narrative is nothing new. We've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and that was to my point, sometimes what it says in a book isn't always what's written in that book and what somebody who actually lived through it will tell you doesn't always jive. It's not always the same thing.
Yeah, there's a thing in Orwell's 1984 called the memory hole, and it's where information that was commonly available, which proves problematic for the current regime, the Big Brother government, is essentially destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much easier to do that if all of your information is stored on servers than in printed books. I can remember, I work with a lot of really dumb kids. I mean, I had one of them come up. This was about 2 years ago. Her name was Cassidy. She was from Florida, and she said she was working on something. And then she turned to me and goes, "Darren, you're smart. France is a city in Italy, right?"
Oh.
And I said, "What?" And she goes, France, it's a city in Italy, right? No, Cassidy, France is its own country that borders Italy. The capital of France is, I believe Paris. and she's like, oh, and later on I asked her about that. I'm like, did you take geography in high school? And she goes, no, I didn't have to take that. And I said, yes, you did. You really needed to take that. Because she was constantly asking me things like, this customer is in Puerto Rico, so I should get them to the international department, right? Like, no, Puerto Rico is part of the United States. It's not a state, but it's part of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And
our territories.
Yeah.
But first of all, welcome Joseph Patrick, and then my favorite was I was watching. Are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Yeah.
And I think the stupidest answer I've ever heard on that show was, who has this is like one of the low money number questions.
Mm-hmm.
Which country shares the biggest land border with the United States, Mexico or Canada? And they answered Mexico.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah. It's like, you ever see a map,
no, that's nothing. I have a kid. I was applying for this job a couple years ago, and this kid asked me, what does where you from? And I asked him, and he asked me where you're from. I said, you're in the United States. And actually, and he said, I'm born here. Where you from? And I said, so where you live at? What country do you live in? The United States? You live in where you from? He said, I live here. I said, where's here? The city. Okay, Memphis. Okay, Memphis part of what? Tennessee. Tennessee is part of what? United States. And he looked at me and he still can't get it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's that same gal Cassidy comes with me one time and asks me, Darren, did you fight in Vietnam? And I said, Cassidy, my dad did. I was born a year after Vietnam. The U.S. pulled out of Vietnam.
Yeah.
And she was just, she had no, anything that happened before, and this is true of a lot of people, anything that happens before you're born is ancient history.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not required to know details of things that happened before you're born or the chronology.
I
of
would
things
even
like that.
say 5 years ago is ancient history.
It's like I had a
modern age. If it's
Oh,
5
yeah.
years old, it's
had a
that
roommate-
was back in the Stone Age, man.
Yeah. For example, I had a roommate in the Navy named John who was a fire controlman, but that's beside the point. He didn't believe that any movie made before he was born, meaning basically Star Wars, any science fiction film before he was born was worth watching. If he came into the dorm room and I was watching like an old movie, like a black and white movie, he would just shake his head. It's like, why? He saw no value. Like one time I bought a copy of Forbidden Planet, that's in color with Leslie Nielsen. It's a kind of a forerunner of Star Trek in a way. And he had to leave the room. He was just so totally turned. And I'm like, John, how can you be like that? I mean, there's a lot of, don't you ever watch an old World War II movie? He goes, I watch the ones they make today about World War II, but I don't, but not the ones they made back then, and he goes through all kinds of, what it boiled down to is he just hated the production value.
Yeah.
And some of the things that, some of the inconsistencies that they do. I said, he cited a movie he once saw where John Wayne takes a pineapple grenade and he pulls the pin with his teeth and throws it.
Yeah.
And anybody who has handled a grenade like that knows that it takes a tremendous amount of strength. You're not going to be able to do that with your teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Hell no.
I'm like, well, that's a movie prop. And he goes, and I said, and he's like, yeah, but I can't stand that. I'm like, well, then how can you watch any movie? Because any movie has that too. I mean, and I mentioned, in the movies, people put a silencer on their pistol, and that pistol makes a whisper of a gunshot. But
or
you and I,
the
and you, but you,
one-handed firing of a 50 cal.
yeah, and you know as well as I do that when you put a suppressor, there's no such thing as a silencer. It's called the suppressor. It only muffles one part of the sound that a gun makes. It doesn't. It's still loud,
Mm-hmm.
But this idea in the movies that this guy screws a little thing onto the barrel of his gun and suddenly he can kill somebody and nobody in the next room knows it, and there's people that believe that's real. And it is a staple in Bond films and all kinds of other films too. And it's just one of those things that people believe because they've seen so many movies that have it in there. And then of course they ask, well, if it's not real, why is it in so many movies? And I said, because it's a trope.
Yeah.
It's it's something that they all have. It's kind of like women waking up from bed and they've got all their makeup still on. And it's perfectly on.
Or my perfect, because I'm a wrestling fan.
Mm-hmm.
My personal favorite is, well, that's fake, right?
Oh God!
And I look at them and go,
yeah.
And so is Star Trek, Star Wars.
So is most of what's on TV. It's like I get people that come up to me and say, that reality TV stuff, that's all fake, right? I'm like, well, it's because it's TV. I mean, reality TV is just a sitcom that's filmed in a different way.
Yeah. And this
I explained someone Star Wars. The sequel, the current, what's the last one? The Rise of Skywalker, and I had explained the entire Star Wars movie, and she gets his face. I'm sorry, I'm back up. I took someone to a date, and I told her I want to see Star Wars, and she's okay, fine, and she looked at me, and which I hate people talk to the whole movie. But I had to sit there and try to explain the whole all Star Wars in less than 15 minutes. Because she had no clue what Star Wars was. I mean, whatsoever. You never heard of Star Wars? You mean all your years, people? It don't make no sense. So,
yeah. Well, there's some people that just the way they grow up and in their life experiences, they aren't exposed to a lot of things like that. For example,
Yeah.
Mike, I'm going to mention this in a video here soon, but my first extended underway, when we were in the mid, I brought Star Trek tapes to watch underway because there's always a point where the crew's seen all the new movies we've gotten, and they've got nothing but old ones they've already seen. And I thought, well, I'll just bring a couple of these and see how people like them. Well, there were people on board, including my first captain, who didn't know the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek at all. They assumed it was laser swords and dogfighting and stuff. And when they actually sat down and looked at it and saw the similarities between, that it's about a naval ship in space, that they actually became interested. Where they went, in some cases, their whole lives, 25 years or 35 years, whatever it was, and never really knew what Star Trek was actually about, because this other thing called Star Wars overshadowed them, and they just got them confused.
And we have to learn. Actually, anybody who came on board the Enterprise, you better know something about Star Trek.
I just want to quickly, in case Anti-Trekker, and he won't, but in case he does watch this, he had said on his live stream that he wasn't sure if the notification issue that a lot of channels are having was just within the sci-fi world. It's not.
No. I ain't get no notification. No one.
Cultaholic, which is a wrestling channel.
Mm-hmm.
They're having major issues because they're live streaming like crazy now with this, because they're under like basically house arrest,
right,
where they are, and they're having a lot of issues.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't see Anti-Trekkers come up at all in my feed, or in my subscription feed, but I did see Bird's come up. Bird, for some reason, and I'm able to see his streams come up, but not others. And so I don't think there's a pattern or a rhyme or reason to it. I think it's whoever happens to start streaming at a given time. I mean, I'm sure if Anti-Trekker did a stream at 8:00 in the morning, notifications would probably go out. But at peak hours, forget it.
Yeah,
I didn't get no one. I not get one solid notification from no one. I mean, including you. I just happened to look up, and I just hit when I got to streaming, I just hit the live button and see what's on, and you just popped up. And right now I'm looking at you and Mary Mayhem. She's on right now, and I didn't see anybody else. I was like, how come I'm not getting anything? No.
See, and then the other one with that is, I think it's kind of funny because it's like like last week with Sci-Fi, it happened a lot with Sci-Fi Nation.
Yeah,
I'd get the notification for his live stream 2 days later.
Yeah, and I get up this morning and I go to my computer. I got up at about 9. I slept in, and I see that that he was streaming like for 4 hours already, and had just ended his stream like 10 minutes earlier. And I'm like, wow, he doesn't have a schedule that I understand. He just kind of goes on when he wants to. But it's interesting because I saw the notification that he had just finished streaming. But that was early in the morning, relatively speaking.
Same thing. I get notification after he finished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time, and sometimes it happens with. But see, it's not so bad because if I have my phone near me, it's not so bad because I have I guess triple notification set up.
Yeah.
So I'll get one for like if Bird or Anti-Trekker go on. If I don't get it on YouTube, I'll get it through antitrekker.com in my email, so it'll pop up on my phone.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I get covered 3 different ways. So.
And sometimes I think I got iPhone, and I'm not sure. I think if I really reschedule my iPhone, I think the stream, what's that word I'm trying to get? The internet thing sometimes blocked as well.
Yeah. I want that.
Cassidy asked me one time, what was the big political issue when you were growing up in the 80s? And I said, well, we had several. And he goes, oh, I thought it was nukes. I'm like, well, yeah, it was one of them. And then I kind of messed with her a little bit. I said, you couldn't ride on your bike down the street to the video store and rent a movie without getting nuked.
Oh, yeah,
And she's like,
yeah.
I never heard about that. And I'm like, Cassidy, come on. So-
And if you want to survive a nuclear blast, be sure to hide under your desk, okay?
oh, exactly. Yeah.
And the sad
Yeah,
part
remember
is
that
that
movie?
that used to be part of the actual.
Oh yeah, duck and cover. Yeah, I've seen that. You can see those videos, those and that's something that's so fascinating. Go ahead, Chief.
Yeah, you made a movie the day after.
Yep.
The day
Yeah,
after that.
There was
Yeah.
the day that was a made for TV movie that was kind of like an event, and but it was everywhere. And it's one of those weird things when I was taught about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs, it was a completely one-sided thing that we Japan surrendered because we bombed them into submission, and that's not the whole story at all. Russia was also coming after them too. They had just regrouped, and it was they were the last Axis power still standing. So yeah, they knew what they had to do. So I mean, and of course, what's so funny is we learned about the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs when we were in grade school, but when I was in high school, we didn't learn about Pearl Harbor until high school level.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, so that's the reason why we were fighting them in the first place. We were, that's what got us in. And it's like, okay, so the situation is they pulled out a knife and we pulled out a gun in response. That's, but when you're a little kid, they don't, and they do, I'm sure they do this by design to give you a certain perspective that sticks with you for your whole life. They portrayed us as being the people who used a terrible weapon against them, and it's just
Well, and depending on if you believe it or not, I mean, there's been some documents that have come out, but I mean, this is the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Two words, Godzilla.
Yeah, but some of the top secret documents that have come out was Japan and the United States were in negotiations behind the scenes for peace before the bombs were dropped.
Yeah.
And one of the stipulations that Japan was hell-bent and determined that they were going to get was the emperor could not face charges, because they've seen what's happening in Nuremberg, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the emperor cannot be at fault. He's still got to be the emperor. And it was a no unconditional surrender. Then they dropped the two bombs, and the exact same piece of paper that with the stipulations was the exact same one that they signed on the Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. So you have it where and if you go back and you watch or read about the war trials in Japan, the emperor is never mentioned.
Right.
He's not allowed to be mentioned. He's not allowed to be brought up, and he's kept in power as a figurehead.
Yep. Yep.
And I remember, I think it was Carter told they need him to help rebuild China.
Yeah. MacArthur was a major proponent of that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then I've
they want to arrest him. They want to kill him. They want everything. He said, "Nope, we need him to rebuild China."
Japan.
Yeah, just as an aside, too, I've as you know, I do find various conspiracy theories, at least at the very least entertaining. There was one that I was looking into a couple of years ago where some people had some compelling videos explaining that nuclear weapons actually don't exist, and no, it was fascinating what they were bringing up. I mean, I think they exist. I mean, they're carried. I mean, but can I say that I ever actually saw one? No, but they compared the devastation of Hiroshima to what you can do with firebombing, like in Dresden,
Mhm.
and it's very similar destruction.
Except for the aftermath and the radiation
Right.
poisoning.
Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, do you know what, Hiroshima still exists.
Yes.
It's the city. I mean, and at ground zero, there's a park with trees, so I mean, it does raise some questions,
Yeah.
I admit. I don't see a reason not to think that nukes don't exist
Yeah.
at this point, but they do, I still look into those ideas once in a while.
Oh yeah, it's nice to look into the unpopular ideas, and that's what kind of got me in trouble in the World War II communities, because I have a lot of opinions that aren't popular.
Right.
But Thomas Potts says we cut oil to Japan and they attacked. So yeah, that was part of it at the beginning. That was part of it.
Yeah.
There was not only the oil sanction, but there was a couple others.
So is that what you do though? You bomb somebody's
No,
state,
no.
state because
that's
they
no way a justification. But to be fair, yeah, he's right. I'll point that out.
Yeah.
The other one that a lot of people don't know is there was 5 cities that were on a no bomb list for years, for a couple of years during the war. You weren't allowed to bomb them. And the only reason you weren't allowed to bomb them was so that when they did drop the nuke, it was on an untouched city, so they could see the full power of the new toy.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a few documentaries on it, but I mean, and again, there's probably you can probably find skewed points in every single one of them, because let's face it, that's just the way it goes. But like my favorite is, and this has been proven now, so I can actually say it without getting yelled at. Who fired the first shot in World War II between Japan and the United States?
Who fired the first shot?
Who fired the first shot?
Well, what kind of first shot? Are you talking about the first rifle shot or the first artillery shot?
Who sunk the first unit in World War II between Japan and the United States?
Japan.
Wrong.
What?
Well, there's the Arizona. That's at the bottom of Pearl Harbor right
That
now.
was wrong, though.
The
wrong answer.
The submarine.
Okay.
Submarine.
It was a submarine. It was a Japanese mini sub
Yeah.
that was sunk
remember
by
that.
a destroyer. At the time, they were told, "No, you didn't sink a sub."
Yeah.
And it took many, many years for that ship to finally get accredited, because they finally found the mini sub.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah,
it was
right. That's true.
technically the first shots fired in World War II between Japan and the United States was done by the United States.
Yeah, those
Technically,
those
right?
mini subs are stupid.
Yeah, they are stupid. But that was actually the first shots fired.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Retroactively. Not-
They picked up a submarine
retroactive.
30 miles
Yeah.
from Pearl Harbor.
yeah.
Yeah, because a mini sub was headed into Pearl Harbor. It got detected, and the destroyer did what it was supposed to do. It dropped the depth charges, and then they sent in the communique. We sunk a sub off of Pearl,
Yeah.
and they got told, "No, you didn't."
Yeah.
Okay,
Well, yeah, a lot of people don't know that the U-boats were sinking ships right off of Coney Island. You could be on Coney Island looking out in the ocean, and you could see ships sinking. It was, a lot of people don't know that.
All right, also, they thought they were doing. Remember, they were doing a training exercise. The Army was doing exercise and they didn't believe it until they finally realized it. Because they were doing things at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other one too is what was it now? My brain just went on. I need more coffee. My brain went blank. But yeah, that was always interesting with me too, because it was just it's funny how little things happened. Oh yeah, I was gonna say how long it took the British to convince the New York Port Authority to turn off the damn lights and quit silhouetting the ships after war was declared.
Yeah. Here's another movie trope that I just love that the kids believe, but I tell them that this isn't a thing, and that is, in the movies, particularly the action movies of the 80s, the rifles when they put them on fully automatic and they just continuously fire, it's almost like firing a garden hose or something, where I keep telling them, you put most of those weapons on fully automatic, the light machine guns that you carry that one man can fire, you'll empty your clip in about a second and a half.
Yeah.
It's not like this continuous rapid, fire that they're able to like spray a whole area back and forth with bullets. It's gone.
Yeah, or the old Western trope, a 6-shooter having 12 bullets.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, some
Always
of
a
them.
bullet in the chamber. Damn it.
Some of them are fun though. I mean, obviously the Evil Dead movies where Ash, I think they only show him reloading his shotgun one time. Otherwise, it just fires shot after shot after shot. But
Yeah, and there's always a bullet in the chamber. Damn it.
yeah.
Oh.
I mean, there's so many misconceptions about guns in general. Thanks to the movies, and it helps with legislation. I got another discussion with somebody at work who he thought the AR-15 was an automatic weapon, and I'm like, it's not an automatic weapon; it's a sporting rifle. And he just looked at me, and I'm like, you can make it look like an M16 if you want, but all that is just customized,
It's aesthetic.
stuff that you stick on it.
Yeah, it's aesthetic.
Yeah.
You're telling me whole AR-15?
And I gotta.
Yeah, so no, I got one myself. I know.
Yeah, my headset just died, so I'm taking it down, switching to speakers. Okay, so and then a couple of if you remember the Mandalay Hotel shooting that happened in Vegas a couple of years ago, the guy was shooting at a country music concert with rifles.
Yeah.
And of course, one of the things, because something had to be done, they banned the sale of bump stocks. And
Okay.
Of course,
Yeah.
and of course, I had people come up to me and they said, see, you can modify an AR-15 into an automatic weapon. I said, a bump stock doesn't make it an automatic weapon. You can seriously fuck up your gun if you use a bump stock. Bump stock is what people just use for fun with a rifle they don't care about anymore.
Yeah.
And it just goes in one ear or the other, because they read in some liberal magazine somewhere that you could modify an AR-15 into a fully automatic weapon, and like you'd have to replace the core of the weapon. You'd have which means you replace the weapon. It isn't the same thing as just removing the stock and putting a new stock on, or a new scope, or
Well, it's like I'll put it this way, and I don't know why I'm echoing, but if it continues, I'll have to end the stream. But anyway, if you try to explain to somebody a Humvee that the U.S. military uses and the Humvee that you buy at the store are very different.
Oh yeah. One's a Humvee and the
You
other's
guys
a
know the story
Hummer.
of the Humvee?
And it's not, and I don't care if it says it's an H1 on the side of your damn car. It's not the same that the United
not the
States
same, no.
military is using.
Yeah, one's a civilian, civilian model, and then the other one has military specifications. I mean, and some people will tell you there's huge differences between them.
Yeah. Welcome on.
The story of the Humvee is Arnold Schwarzenegger was doing Commando,
Right.
and he had the Humvee, and they had the Humvee on there, and he talked to the military guy. Said, "What's your guys make this Humvee into a commercial? Because you like it so much." He said, "No, they can't do it." So he went to this guy. I'm saying people who made the Humvee for military went to them and said, "Why don't you make the guy for a civilian use?" And I think you can make a lot of money on it. And the guy said, "That's a great idea." And Arnold got the first Humvee, and the rest is history.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same one.
No, it has. I mean, it has some of the same elements, obviously, but it's not made of the same materials. It doesn't have the same, type of engine, things like that. It's got the same wheelbase and things like that, and obviously the same shape. But
but
that's
it's aesthetics.
Right.
It's not.
And that's
It's
cheaper to buy now.
Yeah, it's a souped up Jeep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For most,
I saw one for $7,000 a couple years ago.
and then
Oh,
the H2 and the H3 are useless. You might as well just get a Jeep Grand Cherokee and be done with it.
Well,
Useless anyway.
the one I remember. I don't know if any of you guys watched Breaking Bad, but no, not Breaking Bad, but Better Call Saul.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the guy with the baseball cards, who was selling pills to what's his face, and he did use the money and he bought this ridiculously tricked out Hummer, and it said Playa on the side of it, and this guy is the nerdiest looking white dude you've ever seen, and yeah, it's just funny. It's like the kind of vehicle, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I think they stopped making them. Didn't they?
Well, you can still get them. You just can't buy them.
Get them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can still get them, but they're not. Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, making.
You can also make them too. They're really easy. They're a very bump stocks are a very ingeniously simple modification because it just uses the kick of the gun to repeat the round, and you basically just hold your finger still, and the gun moves back and forth, and it reverses the motion basically, so that the gun is moving instead of you. So that's why the trigger gets actuated, is because the gun is moving back and forth and it's hitting your finger. You're not moving your finger; you're just holding your finger steady, and that's how it simulates a machine gun fire. It's very inaccurate. You will screw up your gun eventually because it's not meant to be fired like that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Why bother with full auto if you've got a semi-auto on your setting on your gun?
Right. Yeah, it's full auto is I don't even think they even have full auto on a lot of those light machine guns anymore. I mean, a fully automatic machine gun is technically a two-man weapon.
Unless you're going to give me an M60.
Yeah.
But go away.
Yeah. A 3-round burst is plenty.
Yeah. You don't need much more than that. Settle down.
On the subs, we had 45s, and then later on, this was 90s, so the Navy replaced all their 45s with Beretta 9mm. We weren't too crazy about that, but then the other weapons we had on board were Mossberg cruisers. So those were fun because those were, of course, pump-action shotguns with a pistol handle.
Now I'm gonna, Darren, you might get mad at me, but I'm gonna do this anyway. Honstar is on in the chat, and every Thursday he has his Bloody Mary brunches.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think because Honstar, like me, likes history and naval history, to be specific. So you two might want to get together for a conversation one time, because Darren was actually on a nuclear sub.
We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you two would have a good conversation.
Yeah. The a fully automatic weapon is a 2-man weapon that's on a tripod.
Mm-hmm.
And you got one guy that feeds an ammo belt into it, and of course in the Vietnam movies, the stereotypical Vietnam movies, there's always one guy who's bigger than all the other guys in the unit, and he's the guy who fires that gun without any help.
Mm-hmm.
Which you couldn't do. I mean, the Terminator can do it because he's a machine and he weighs about 600 pounds. But I mean, for a human being no way.
Unless you are Schwarzenegger and Commando or Rambo.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and he's unofficially superhuman in those movies.
Yeah, or all jacked up with steroids or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, Stallone used to use scaled down M16 props to hide the fact that he's not a very big guy.
Yeah. Well, and you can get away with a lot in Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Like
I mean,
you were pointing out earlier, the old pin with the grenade with the teeth. Yeah, no. You lose your teeth.
Oh yeah. One of the most realistic. I mean, I've never seen a 50 cal, in person used on a human being before, but it seems to me that in that Rambo movie that took place in Burma, when he gets on the 50 cal, mounted on the Jeep, and he shoots that guy at point blank range and basically turns him into chunky salsa. I thought that was pretty realistic, and then I had a friend of mine tell me, no, that's not. You know, if you hit him at that close a range with a 50 cal, that guy disappears, and then about 4 seconds later, it starts raining pink mist.
Yeah.
You know,
It's like, no, that
Air is ringing.
doesn't happen. Welcome, Monster.
Hello, everybody. Nice
Hello.
to meet everyone.
Hey.
So what's tonight's topic? I
We've
just
kind of been
checked in
rambling all over the place.
like a rambling Canuck.
Yeah, fits my name.
Yeah, it's something I said in the chat. It's been proven over and over again that full auto fire just wastes ammo and kills accuracy.
oh yeah, and
You know,
it's
that's-
hard to control the weapon at that point.
Yeah, and that's what was it in Vietnam? They took the full auto off the M16 and give it 3-round burst and the single shot because the whole spray and pray thing was just wasting ammo and they weren't really hitting anybody.
Well, you know, I got into an argument with any trucker about that because I told him that the M16 initially had 3 selector switches, single fire, semi-automatic, which back then was defined as a 3-round burst, and then fully auto. And he told me I was incorrect, and then I acquiesced. But I'm sure they did have 6 experimental versions before they put them out, to the guys where they tried that.
I remember reading that the full auto they realized pretty quick was just a waste of ammo and they weren't really hitting anybody because the stuff would hit the fan and they would just kind of, as you always hear, spray and pray. And all they were doing was dumping mags and mags of ammo and weren't really hitting anybody,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the most disastrous machine gun that in my research that the United States military ever had was a French-made light machine gun called the Show. That was used during World War I, and it was given to U.S. servicemen because of a political problem. Woodrow Wilson, the United States had like the finest light machine gun in the war, the Browning automatic rifle, which was relatively new at that point, but Woodrow Wilson said, no, we can't give our guys that because if they get captured, the Germans will have it and they'll reverse engineer it and use it against us. Well, the Germans already had their own machine guns. They weren't gonna. It's a Woodrow Wilson. Move. I mean, he's the only president we've ever had with a PhD. Of course, he's going to make that kind of a decision. But the Lewis gun was I believe the gun that was used by the British, and they wouldn't let the U.S. soldiers use that gun either. So he ended up with the Show, which was basically made out of scrap metal. It was poorly designed. It had this hammer that would come back when it was fired, and if you picked up the rifle and used it the way U.S. soldiers were trained to shoot that rifle, that hammer would come back and break your cheekbone. So they couldn't fire it the way they were trained. They had to fire it basically from a waist position, at your hip, and you can't get any accuracy when you do that. Plus, the construction of the Show rifle was so poor that no two were exactly alike in dimensions, which meant you couldn't take 2 incomplete ones in the field and make a functioning weapon out of them.
They were basically hand fitted, and the magazines were horrible. That was really the worst part of the Show.
Yeah.
Was the magazines, and they basically redid it in 30-06 for the Americans and kind of forced it, like you said, to the Americans.
Mm-hmm.
The French did, and I don't know if any of you are familiar with the channel Forgotten Weapons, but Forgotten Weapons and CNR Arsenal got together and did a project called Project Lightning, where they tested like all the light machine guns from World War I, and they had a original French Show, which I forget the caliber of it, and then they had an American Show, which was 30-06, and they had the Lewis gun. They had several different guns from World War One, and they did like a whole test of them, like for accuracy, for walking fire, for in place fire. It was really interesting to see, and that's what they talk about. The main problem with the show was the magazines. If you can get a magazine that's good, it'll run halfway decent if you take care of it, but you have to really take care of the magazines, and they had to actually work a gunsmith had to work the magazines over just to be able to do the shots that they did on YouTube, because the magazines were basically disposable. You were supposed to use them and throw them away. Of course, you can't get any new show magazines, so you have to use the old ones.
Right. The show magazine had these ports cut out on it to save metal.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're in World War One, when you're fighting in the trenches and all the dirt and the mud, that dirt and mud would get right into the magazine, and it would jam. I mean, the show could be counted on to fail. That was how bad it was. And
it was supposed to be designed to be able to see how much ammo you had left, and like you said, in the trenches, all it did was get gunked up with mud.
Right. And there was so many stories of American soldiers that when they were issued the show, they would go they'd find a farmer and trade it with them for an ordinary bolt action rifle, so that they could at least have a functioning weapon. Another old gentleman that was interviewed in one of the documentaries I've seen about it said that the only thing that was good about the show was you could take the parts off and make a still.
And from what I've seen and read, they say the 30-06 American show was even worse than the French show, which I said again, I forget the caliber of the French.
The French version actually had the magazine on top of the gun of the weapon, and the one they made for the Americans had it on the bottom. And it had this weird little tripod thing on the barrel too that never you could never steady it. It had a plethora of problems.
Yeah, the bipod was definitely subpar for the type of gun that it was.
If you want to look at a picture of this, you guys, the gun is spelled. It's 2 words. First word is CHAU, and the second word is CHAT. So it looks like chow chat. It's actually pronounced show in French, but that's 2 words. So if you want to Google it and get a look at what that weapon looked like.
Doesn't that mean piece of shit in French?
Something like that, yeah. So I mean, you never want to use a weapon made by the French.
Yeah, it's funny because the Ian McCullough that does the channel Forgotten Weapons, he's a Francophile.
Oh yeah.
He collects, all the French weapons. He actually just released a book about like every French weapon until the newest French weapons. I forget now what the name of it is. But anyway, he has the original French show and he has a 30-06 American version show. And he'll basically even tell you they were shit rifles. And like I said, they did Project Lightning in collaboration with CN Arsenal, which if you're into firearms, it's very interesting because they show all the light machine guns of World War One in a series of videos, and they put them through different tests. And it took them like months of getting the magazines straightened out by a gunsmith just to make them run good.
Right. Yeah.
The magazine was really like you said, the main letdown of the rifle, other than the kind of crap design. The magazine was another letdown because it would collect dirt. It was thin. It was light. It was easy to bend. If you bent it, it was done.
Yeah. It was made of scrap metal. It was not made of the highest quality metal available in the war. And that's why they were so cheap, and that's why Woodrow Wilson said, "Hey, we'll give our guys this thing. That'll work."
Or if you really want to talk about a useless weapon, you go to World War II and talk about a Matilda tank, or the Sherman, or not the Sherman. Well, the Sherman was it only did good because they finally upgraded the gun, and it was just mass produced. But the other one is the Churchill. That was a
Oh yeah.
beast. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just funny that in World War II, the finest light machine gun in the war, the BAR, Browning Automatic Rifle, was sitting in warehouses on the stateside unused. And my dad got to fire one of those when he was in Vietnam. They were still using Browning automatic rifles up until about the mid '70s in the Army. And he talks about that to this day. He goes, "That was a really nice gun. I like that gun a lot." So.
Well,
Hey, Jimmy.
the funny thing is, by the time they used it in World War II, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is outdated. This is designed from World War One."
Right.
But it was a great design. I mean,
Yeah.
John Browning made great weapons. I mean, there's no way around that. I mean, pretty much everything he designed was great.
Yeah. I saw a couple of things here recently about snipers in World War II and how they were interviewed in the 80s, and they were old men obviously at that point, and now they're obviously passed away, but they were talking about how unnerving it was to be on the battlefield. You've got a bolt action rifle and you're in the middle of a machine gun war. The idea that you had to hide. You couldn't actually fight the way the other guys in your unit were. You had to hide and wait and bide your time, and it was a different kind of shooting. And you're always hearing machine guns in the background and stuff like that. And here you got this little gun that had to be cocked every time, and
Yeah, I would definitely not want to be the bolt action guy.
No.
And Canuck and I talked about that a little bit. We had a stream. It's been 2 or 3 weeks ago now, where we talked about World War One, mostly about World War II. And we were talking about what was some of the big improvements in World War One, and that was one of the things that we talked about was the machine guns. Is all of a sudden that changed warfare, And in World War One, they were still doing the charge. We're going to charge at them, kind of like old school war,
right?
And then the machine guns would just mow everybody down.
Well, it was revolutionary because you had back in the days of fusiliers and musketeers and stuff like that,
warfare.
That a skilled rifleman could get off one round maybe every 45 seconds. But then when the automatic repeating rifles came out, you could put an idiot behind it, and it would
Oh yeah.
It mechanized the whole process, and there's fewer skills involved.
Well, I think Canuck and I talked about this. I mean, at the beginning of World War One, they were still using horses.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, right through World War II too, but not as much.
Yeah, that's
World War One than World War II, but they
the Germans in World War II, the Germans still used way more horses than people think they did.
Yeah.
Because everybody talks about the Blitzkrieg, and they think, tanks and motorcycles and half tracks, and they did all this stuff, but they still hauled, artillery pieces and stuff by horse.
Yeah, horses went from the cavalry to the supply chain.
Yeah, they hauled stuff around.
World War. I'm still fascinated sometimes by pictures of World War One era tanks.
Oh yeah, those big monstrosities.
Yeah,
sides.
They look so. They look like something that somebody today would make in their garage with a welding torch. Yeah.
Well, that's basically what they were.
Yeah, I mean the big treads on them and stuff. They didn't have turrets on them. They just had the treads. And
they had multiple gun emplacements. Some of them had artillery guns. Some of them had multiple machine guns.
Mm-hmm.
They were prone to break down. They were prone to get stuck.
Yeah.
I mean it is the grandfather of our modern tanks, but at the same time, it was like a horrible thing at the time.
Yeah, you did not want to be in one of those things.
It was hot. There was fumes. It was horrible to be in one of those tanks.
Yeah, reminds me. I saw a movie here over the last couple, I think about 4 months ago, called The Pentagon Wars, and it was all about the what do you want to call it? The comedy of errors behind the development of the Bradley fighting vehicle. and it had Kelsey Grammer playing a general who was trying to push it through and kept saying, well, any design flaws that it has will be taken care of once it's in the field. It's like what? It's like, no, you're
Yeah, it's like let's throw it out there and see what sticks, and then we'll fix it.
Did we not learn our lessons from the Mark 14?
It's exactly like they're acting like the situation like the Mark 14 is how it's supposed to be. It's like
let's not learn from history, and let's just test it in the field, and then tell the commanders that they're using it wrong.
But the beginning of the movie is kind of funny because it shows how that vehicle was supposed to be just a high speed transport battlefield, just to get a squad or whatever on the battlefield, and then it was supposed to get out of there, and generals kept coming along going, why can't we make this thing more of a reconnaissance vehicle? And it's like, well, it's and the general that developed it was like, it's because it's not designed for that. And he goes, well, you can put a turret on the top of it, and he's like, yeah, but then the enemy will think it's a tank, and and it's not armored, so it's like, yeah.
It wasn't it supposed to kind of be the American version of the BMP that the Russians had?
Something like that, yeah. It was not,
sort of.
Yeah, even though it was called the Bradley fighting vehicle, it wasn't really designed to fight. Originally, the vehicle was designed to get a squad out there and then to skedaddle. And
it basically had weapons to somewhat defend itself, to drop the troops and then retreat.
Right. Yeah. I mean, originally it had no weapons. It was
okay.
It had the treads and everything, and then each time a general would look at it, they're like, well, why don't you add holes where they can stick their rifles out and fire? And then the other guy's like, well, let's put a turret on the top of it, and it's
which the ports to fire weapons is very BMP, because it had it had the fittings to attach an AK to fire out of a BMP.
And it's funny too, because I remember when I was in the Navy, people who aren't around tanks often mistake other vehicles for tanks and other weapons for tanks. And I remember we went to we were doing our rifle qualification, and so we had to go to a nearby Army base. When I say nearby, it was about 2 hours from our submarine base. We get there, and we had a chief named Racy on our boat who had done 4 years in the Army before he joined the Navy. And so he was familiar with a lot of the differences between Army and Navy, and there was a mobile howitzer that was rolling down the street, and we had to kind of get out of the way and let it go through. And one of the young guys, one of the blue shirts, said, casually mentioned it and called it a tank. and Chief and Racy takes his ball cap off, his command ball cap, and he's beating him with it like hard, not like Skipper hitting Gilligan with his hat, like he's trying to kill him with his hat, right? And he goes, "Do not call that a tank. Do not let these Army guys hear you call that a tank." Because he didn't want to be embarrassed. That is a gun, he says. He says, the easiest way to, and then he was pointing out the differences. And of course, now whenever I see a howitzer, I don't see anything that looks like a tank. But to an untrained eye, you don't know any better.
Yeah, those were mobile artillery.
Yeah,
I mean, to a layman, I could see where they're tanks. Are you talking about the kind that were like open on the top, where the crew was like exposed?
No, it was encapsulated.
Okay,
it was just a howitzer.
It just had like a howitzer gun on it.
Yeah, it had a much larger gun on it than a tank would. It's and when you see one and you think it's a tank, but then they explain to you the differences, then you see it. This is not a vehicle. This is just a mobile piece of artillery. And not a point to point sort of vehicle.
It's not point to fire.
Right.
I seem like I just keep talking about other YouTube channels. I'm sorry, but is anybody familiar with the Chieftain?
Yes.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, he has an awesome YouTube channel. He was actually a tanker in the Irish military, and then he immigrated to the United States and is now a tanker in the United States. I think he's still
Retired.
is he retired now?
Yeah.
Okay. But he does really great videos where he goes around and like does videos about tanks at like museums and auctions and stuff like that. And he does a lot of good explanatory videos like you're talking about the and mobile artillery and stuff like that. And he does some really in-depth videos.
Yeah.
But, if you're interested in stuff like that, check out the Chieftain's YouTube channel.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, he's actually really good. His videos are really good, and you'll actually get to see, because in some of them, he will actually go into the tank.
Yeah.
The museum will let him. And, so he'll be like, okay, so these poor buggers had to actually try to get into this driver's seat. And the way they had to get into this driver's seat was they had to, and he'll show you, right? And some of his videos are great. They're outstanding.
Yeah, and he shows the older vehicles, and when he retired out of an M1 Abrams, and he was also sometimes in a Bradley fighting vehicle. So he tells the difference, like between the older tanks or mobile artillery and the ergonomics, of being inside the vehicle and why it sucked. As Canuck was saying, like why this was horrible. Like, look at this little guy's seat right here. And, he had ammo shells all around him. And, this was horrible. If the tank got hit, there was pretty much no way for him to get out because the hatch was so small. And he kind of, breaks everything down bit by bit. And like Canuck was saying, if it's in a scenario where he can go inside of it, I mean, he goes inside of it, does a video from the inside, like showing you all the internal, workings of it and everything.
Yeah. It's like if you remember the Ang Lee Hulk film from 2003, where he's fighting the tanks in the desert, and he tears the turret off of one of them, and he shakes it, and two guys fall out of the severed turret. And it's like, okay, I know this is a comic book movie and not a very well made one. This was before Marvel Studios, but I'm like, that's not where those guys sit. And I was in the Navy, and I know that. You couldn't have fit two guys in that turret.
That ain't gonna happen, dude.
Yeah, but or the funny scene where the Hulk takes the gun on the tank and bends it back, because it's metal. You can bend metal, right? And so that the barrel is pointing right at the guy that's about to pull the trigger. It's not gonna, if he pulled the trigger, obviously the shell isn't gonna hook around and come back and hit him.
Yeah.
It'll probably just get stuck in the barrel or blow a hole through the barrel. But it's just, it was comedic. It was a cartoon, so yeah.
Or they'll tie the rifle barrel into a knot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or or if you look at, for example, the Tumbler Batmobile, I liked how that was this weird vehicle that kind of looked and behaved like a tank, but it was much faster, And the cops even said, what's he driving? And he's like, it's a black tank. I like that.
More like an APC, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So did you say you were on submarines, Darren?
Yeah. I was on one.
What did you do on submarines, if you don't mind me asking?
I was a sonar operator.
Oh, that's funny. A guy I graduated high school with went in when he was 18. He has done his 20 years and retired now, but he was a sonar tech on submarines and was based out of Pearl pretty much his whole career.
Oh yeah, he had a good time then.
And he did his 20 and got out and stayed in Pearl, or stayed in Hawaii, and married like this Hawaiian chick and had kids and stuff. But anyway, it was funny because he went to the Navy recruiter and he was kind of a short guy, and they're like, "Hey, what do you want to do in the Navy?" And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. My grandpa was in the Navy. I just want to be in the Navy." Because his grandpa had retired like a Master Chief. So he's like, "Oh, I'm going to go be in the Navy." And they're like, have you ever thought about submarines? You would fit in submarines really good. And he's like, okay. So he went into submarines, and for 20 years he was a sonar tech because he was a short dude. And they're like, you'd fit in really good in submarines because you're short.
the shorter and skinnier you are, the more comfortable you are than the other guys. Yeah, my rate was sonar technician. You know, we called ourselves sonar operators because, you know, it was just the name had just changed recently. So sonarman is actually another word that they used to use, but yeah, sonar technicians, they're trying to make all the rates sound really technical. For recruiting purposes back then. So, you know, like you're not a cook anymore. You're a mess management specialist, for example.
Oh yeah.
You know, or you know, you were not a welder. You were a hull technician. You know, that was another rate that got a name change. But yeah, it's USS Trepang was the sub I was on. It was out of Groton, Connecticut, and you know, it was older. It was, as you can tell by the name, it wasn't named after a city, which meant it wasn't a Los Angeles class ship, which was still the mainstay back then in the 90s. The Seawolf hadn't come out yet, and she decommissioned in 2000. So,
yeah, I honestly don't know what he served on. He went in the Navy
if he was in Pearl.
He went in the Navy in 97, 98.
Okay, if he was in Pearl, then he was on an attack sub, probably in Los Angeles. I don't think there were any sturgeons left out in Pearl Harbor, so that's what he probably was. He was on a fast attack sub out there because they don't keep any ballistic missile submarines in Pearl Harbor. Those were all kept in Washington State.
Okay.
On the Pacific side, yeah.
All right, well, just talk amongst yourselves for a quick second. I gotta go run take a Joloja. I'll be right back.
Fort Knox.
While the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yeah,
Everything's at Fort Knox.
well, I'm not convinced there's any gold at Fort Knox anymore. I think that was
I actually grew up about an hour from Fort Knox. I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky, and my dad was it's a long story. My dad was Marine Corps in the Korean War. Then he was National Guard. He was a tanker out of Fort Knox in the Kentucky National Guard. He went active duty later in the Army, so he was in the Marines, the National Guard, and the Army. And he was a tanker out of Fort Knox. And recently, I've watched some documentaries, you know, about Fort Knox. It does make you wonder what's really still there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because, you know, it would make sense to broadcast to the world that, hey, the United States gold supply is here when it's not there, you know?
Yeah. And nobody's been in there actually since the 80s? Was it the 70s or the 80s where all the news crews and the senators and all that stuff went there and they showed them like one little room full of gold? I forget the actual dates, but America's Book of Secrets on Netflix, they have a whole episode about Fort Knox. And, you know, how there's gold there. There may not be gold there. What's really there, you know? And
I met a chief in the Navy who said he knew a Marine from back in the day in the 70s who said that you know, that the gold bricks were so heavy that, like, first of all, they were so wide that you couldn't get your hand around one hand around them. You'd have to use two hands to carry them, and that they weigh, you know, 50, 60 pounds each. You know, so it's like it's not like Goldfinger.
Yeah, and I've also read things that even though the gold may still be there, it's not necessarily our gold.
Yeah.
That the world powers kind of try to control the gold market. So they may tell Sweden, hey, put however many ounces of gold on the market, and we'll basically give you a slip that says you own that much gold in Fort Knox.
Hmm.
They artificially control the gold market.
Right.
So
Well,
even if the gold is still there, it may not be all our gold.
Right. Yeah,
And
I mean, who knows? I mean,
And then you've got the whole conspiracy theories of why they moved it from the gold standard to the oil standard for the dollar.
yeah.
That's always fun to listen to. Because nobody in that, you can get 10 people that talk about that in one room, and I don't think you'll get one agreeing on anything.
Yeah, I think also it probably, with the movie Goldfinger, which at least the external shots were filmed there, I guess.
Yeah.
The interior was all done at the 007 soundstage in London, but the plot of somebody wanting to irradiate the United States gold supply, and making it unusable, in order to bring the value of everybody else's gold up in value. I thought that was, it's a typical Bond sort of plot, but if you had an airstrike, you could possibly, I don't know, cave in the vault or whatever and make it so you couldn't get access to them anymore.
They claim that the actual big vaults are underground, like on a lower level. So,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there is or isn't any gold left there, but I think there's obviously something there that they're really trying to keep secret or keep safe.
Yeah.
It may not be gold anymore, but it's something.
Yeah.
Because if not, it's like a lot of money spent on a ruse that's just a total ruse.
Right. Yeah, I mean, my idea is that maybe there never was gold there. That was just a story, so that everybody's looking at Fort Knox and talking about Fort Knox when it's over here in Fort Hood or Fort Myers.
Yeah, and Fort Knox having the Fort Knox military base right there. They say things like, oh, there's like a whole platoon at Fort Knox always on call in case Fort Knox is attacked. And I've been right by Fort Knox. Yeah, you can see it from the highway. It's not like hidden or anything, obviously. So
yeah, it's right out there in plain sight.
It kind of makes you wonder, if in this modern time, if that's really where they're still putting all their eggs in one basket.
Right. Yeah. It wouldn't make sense to me to do that way, but what do I know?
Well, because honestly, if you think about the Cold War, obviously that would probably be one of the major targets.
Oh, exactly.
There would be at least one missile targeted just for Fort Knox.
No, Thomas Potts. The aliens are in Area 51.
Yeah, they're in it.
No, you're in Area 52. Area 51 is the ruse.
Well, yeah, that's what they say now. Yeah, is Area 51 is just a cover up because they want to take your mind away from where the actual stuff is really going on.
Yeah, the one that I like is when people talk about the Four Corners region. The 4 states in the Southwest that kind of meet in the Four Corners region. There's apparently an underground facility there that is where they're doing all the genetic experimentation with blending human and animal DNA and stuff. So there's been stories on various radio programs and podcasts from people who say they were service people who worked there, and they called it the zoo, and just all these horrible humanoid creatures and things down there, and it's fun stuff to listen to sometimes when you're bored.
That makes me think of was it the most recent vacation movie where they go to have sex at the Four Corners because they want to have sex at like all 4 states at the same time, and there's like all those people there doing the same thing, and the cops show up, and then they're arguing about who has jurisdiction over what because all 4 states come together. Yeah, I want to
was-
say it's the newest
was-
vacation movie that was
That was
out.
was that Vegas Vacation? I think that's what it was, wasn't it?
No, it was actually the newer vacation movie.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the one where it's Russ. It's Chevy Chase's
Yeah.
son. Yeah.
Yeah, Rusty's supposedly grown up, and he gets that weird ass van, and they travel, kind of doing the original vacation thing, traveling across the country,
Gotcha.
and they go to the area of the Four Corners, and they're like, "Oh, if we go out there, we can have sex in like 4 states at the same time." And then they get out there, and there's like 20 other couples there.
Yeah.
And then the cops show up, and then the cops are arguing about who has jurisdiction because all 4 states come together in the same place.
All I can think about that when I saw that was the Smokey and the Bandit scene when we got Mounties and we got Mounties.
No, I didn't see that vacation movie. I like the Chevy Chase ones.
Yeah, the newest vacation movie was not that great.
No.
Honestly.
No, you kind of need Chevy in there.
Stick to the originals for sure.
No, the thing that I liked about Vegas Vacation was, they get to Vegas and they all split up. They don't do anything as a family in that movie because that's what families tend to do in Vegas. They split up and the thing that was funny to me in that was Randy Quaid's character, of course, knows where all the cheap places are, the cheap buffets.
Those weren't bad.
European Vacation was my favorite, though.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Especially when they get to Germany, because I think that was the first movie I ever saw boobs in. The German gal does her blouse for Rusty, and
Well, isn't that the one where Beverly D'Angelo also shows her boobs, where they make that like home video and then somebody steals it?
well, she doesn't
It
show
ends
her
up on,
boobs. We don't see them.
Billboard.
We don't see her boobs. She flashes Clark, and we're behind her. And yeah, they make this fun little video with his camcorder, and then the camcorder gets stolen somewhere, and then they go to the next country, and she's on a billboard.
It's like in Italy or somewhere. She's like on a billboard, like it's a porno star.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love Vegas Vacation. I always think of Rusty. He becomes a high roller. He's Nick Papa Giorgio.
Papa Giorgio, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Papa Giorgio from Yuma. And he's winning all those cars and winning all that stuff, and Clark like gambles away their life savings.
Yeah, the college tuition and all that stuff too, and it's it's Rusty's winning all those vehicles that actually saves them, I think, because that's Yeah, they actually because I think Chevy drives the Humvee, and there was a Ferrari and all this kind of stuff there.
Yeah, they have like a Hummer and like a Viper, and they have like 4 different cars they all leave in. Yeah, that's actually I love all the original vacation movies, but. My favorites would probably be European Vacation and Christmas Vacation.
Christmas was fun too, but
I always watch Christmas Vacation every Christmas time.
And then
cousin Eddie, the sugar's full. Yeah,
I thought the Vegas Vacation had the best looking version of Audrey too.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Because the one from European Vacation was not attractive at all.
Yeah, it wasn't really. Yeah, and the one from the original Vacation wasn't really that great either.
Yeah,
and it's funny in Vegas Vacation because he thinks that his wife is trying to screw Wayne Newton, so he like steals him and Eddie steal the tour bus and like crashed into like Wayne Newton's house.
Yeah, old Wayne Newton.
But it is getting to be around 1:30 in the morning here, so
okay.
I'm gonna go around. I'll let everybody prop their stuff, and you can tell about your next video on Anti-Trekker or Chief Cook, and then, so. But first, I'll kind of pimp my own channel. I guess I'll go first. For me, the next biggest thing I've got is on Honstar's channel on Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern, noon my time, for his Bloody Mary brunch. We're going to talk about the Titanic, the Olympic, and the Britannic.
Ooh.
And then every Monday, we'll have me and Sci-Fi Nation host the Monday Night Mayhem, and then my random live streams. And of course, either incoming me getting very, very annoyed, or me being okay, that was decent, for the Parkard final. Darren, you got anything coming up, or
Channels Darren. Channels based on my name. It's just Darren Wagner. Trying to get content out for it here, but I'm kind of busier than normal due to the current situation. So most people are seem to be not working right now. I'm working more. So, but I've got another video from on Anti-Trekker's channel coming soon. So I might be able to get it finished tomorrow.
Very cool. Okay, Chief Cook.
I will be streaming tomorrow morning or before I go to work. I will be dropping some videos I saw today and other stuff like that. And so you can guys see me chiefcook.com. I mean, Chief Cook, and I'll be on whoever be on the stream, like you whoever be on. I hope I see you.
All right, and Honstar.
First of all, I'll let you. I enjoy you let me jump on, Canuck, just randomly. This is your first stream I've been on, but I also have to pimp my Bloody Mary brunch on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern, where I day drink Bloody Marys because that's my Sunday, because of my off days, and we talk about whatever. Canuck has been on with me a couple times, and I also have my bi-weekly Sunday streams. This Sunday I'll be doing Sunday Fun Day Jackbox Game Night, where we play Jackbox games and have a pretty good time. And the Sundays I'm not doing Jackbox games, we have a game called Name That Tune, where I have a panel that try to guess the tune based off of just the music, like the old game show was. So that's mostly what I'm doing right now is live streams. You can also find me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at HonstarYT. And again, Canuck, I appreciate you having me on, and I'm excited to stream with you on Thursday.
All right, sounds good. So thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you for all that came up here on the panel. Darren Wagner, Chief Cook, Honstar. And until next time, take her easy, folks.
Bravo Zulu.
Bye.
Simple 5, guys.